Have you ever looked inside your Google Ads and wonder what these metrics mean? In today's video, I'll break down all the key metrics you need to know and why you need to use them. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you how to use these key metrics to increase your campaign's performance. Hey everyone, it's Axel here, and we're gonna start this video by showing you where you can see these metrics in the first place. The first place you can find them is if you go into your Google Ads and click on Overview, you'll have a dashboard right here, and from here you can view any of these metrics if you click any of these drop downs. So right now I have cost, clicks, impressions, and average CPC, but if I click any of these, you can see that all of the other metrics that are available to see appear, and I can change this stuff and view other metrics that way. Another way you can do it is by segmenting and viewing your metrics within different tables. Instead of viewing my results as a whole on the account level, for example, I can go into my campaigns here and view my metrics on a campaign level. Right now I'm selected on a single campaign, so I can switch to all campaigns, and I can see that now I have a big table showing me all of these metrics for all of my different campaigns that I'm running in this single account. Same thing goes for ad groups. I can cut it down to the ad group level, ad level as well, and also even further down to the keyword level. That's how you view your metrics, but for the simplicity of this video and the start of this video, we're gonna go back to the overview and the dashboard. And so we're gonna start with the first four metrics, which are the basics, and they're the easiest to understand, which are these four right here. So the first one I'm gonna talk about is cost. Cost is how much your ad account has spent in a certain time frame. So we can see that for this guy right here, he spent a total of $836 for the previous month time window. So that's what cost is. Impressions is how many people saw your ad. We can see that 48,000 people in the previous month saw one of his search ads. He got 728 clicks, which is the next metric. This is how many people actually clicked on the ad. Not everyone who sees your ad will end up clicking on it. So that's the difference between clicks and impressions. The impressions is the people who saw the ad in the first place, and the clicks are the people who actually clicked on the ad and took that first action. So that's the difference between the two. And the fourth metric I will mention here is the CPC. So this is your average cost per click. This is how much your clicks cost on average for each single click. So we can see that here over this period, he spent $836 and he got 728 clicks out of that. So if I divide the cost by the number of clicks, we would get to $1.15, which is how much the clicks cost each, and therefore his average CPC is $1.15. Now with the basic four metrics out of the way, let's move on and get into the more important ones. So the first two important metrics I'm going to be talking about are conversions and cost per conversion. Conversions are the action or the goal that you want people to take when running ads. A conversion can be multiple different things. It kind of depends on the use case and why you're running ads in the first place, but this can include anything from a view, a click, a button click, a form fill, a purchase, sometimes even a meeting booked. It kind of depends on what you're doing. For people doing lead generation, that's essentially a lead or a form fill. If you're doing e-commerce, it's usually in the form of a purchase. So the conversions are the amount of goals that you've achieved to get through your ad campaigns. And this can be shown in your dashboard. So we can see that this guy, he's doing lead generation right here. He's a moving company in Montreal. And in the past month, he's gone 49 conversions. And a conversion for this guy specifically is when someone submits a quote form filled for his moving company. So in the past month, he's achieved to get 49 quotes. So as a recap, the conversions is the amount of results you got as a single number within your ads. The cost per conversion is how much it costs for each of these conversions as an average value. So I can see here that in the past month, this guy spent $1,050, give or take, and he got 49 conversions out of that. So if I divide the total cost of his ads in the past month divided by the number of conversions, which is 49, I get an average cost per conversion of $21.42. So that's his average cost for every quote that he's getting through his moving company website. Now, for most of you running campaigns, the cost per conversion is the number one metric that you should keep track of, and here's why. It's because it's this metric that lets you know whether your ads are profitable or not. So chances are, if you're running ads, in order to be profitable, you need to hit a certain target where that target is a specific cost per conversion. So let's say you're doing e-commerce, for example. If your product costs $20, then you know that your target cost per conversion has to be $20, because if you spend more than $20 in ads to sell a product that costs $20, then your ads are not profitable. Whereas if you achieve to do that under $20, then your profit is whatever that margin is between the two. And so if you know your cost per conversion and you know that it's below your target, then great, you you can keep running ads since they're profitable. But if you're above that target, then you know that whatever you're doing is not entirely profitable yet, and whatever you're doing with the ads currently, then something needs to get fixed in order to bring that cost per conversion down to make the ads more profitable in the future. All right, moving on to the next metric, which I'll zoom in on right here, and that is the CTR. The CTR is known as the click-through rate. That's what it stands for, and it's the percentage of people who clicked on your ad out of the people who saw your ad. So if you have, let's say, 100 people who saw your ad and you have 5 people who clicked on the ad, your CTR would be 5% in this case. So then you know, as a rule of thumb, anything above 10% in my opinion is a great CTR. Between 5 and 10% is pretty good. And if your CTR is under 5%, something needs to get done to bring that CTR up. So it's important to know your CTR for a few different reasons. One of those reasons is that if your CTR isn't very high, then you know that you might have an issue between the relevancy of your keywords and your ads. This is because since not many people are clicking on your ad, that might mean that there might be a break in relevancy between what you're targeting as a keyword and what you're showing people as an ad. So whatever it is that's happening, if you're getting a low CTR, that might be a signal that you need to pick better, more relevant keywords, or you need to go into your ad headlines and descriptions and make them either more relevant to your keywords or more powerful in terms of ad copy and more convincing. That way more people start clicking on your ad. It's also important to know what your CTR is, because theoretically, the higher your CTR is, that means more people are clicking on your ad. And the more people click on your ad, the more people have the potential to convert into whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So whether that's a purchase or a lead. So technically, the higher your CTR is, the more opportunity you have to getting more conversions through your ads. And then another final reason is your CTR is somewhat related to your cost per click. So Google Ads won't disclose directly how your average cost per click is calculated, but they have hinted that a higher CTR will reduce your cost per click. And they do this because if you have a high CTR, that essentially tells Google that your keywords and your ad are very relevant to each other, and therefore it gives you a high quality score. And they would consider that to be a quality ad. And if you have a high quality score, Google then decides to reward you by lowering your CPC. So your cost per click is calculated through a few different metrics, whether it's how competitive the keywords are that you're using, what your budget is, and also what your CTR is. It's a mix of a few different things, but CTR is within that mix of items. So the higher your CTR is, generally speaking, your lower your cost per click will be. So that's it for CTR. Now we're going to move on to conversion rate, which is somewhat similar. So conversion rate is similar to CTR because it's also expressed as a percentage and a ratio, but one step further down the line. So what the conversion rate is the percentage of people who converted out of the people who clicked on your ad. So as an example, let's say you got 1,000 impressions on your ads. Out of those 1,000 people, 100 of them clicked on your ad and 5 of them converted into a lead. Your CTR would be 10% and your conversion rate would be 5%. And so it's important to know what your conversion rate is, because the higher your conversion rate is, the lower your cost per conversion will be. And the lower your cost per conversion is, the more profitable your ads are. So you want to do everything you can to increase your conversion rate in order to reduce that cost per conversion. As far as conversion rate goes as well, a couple factors come into play which affect the conversion rate. So let's say you have a low conversion rate. A few things could be the cause of this. And these things have to do with either the landing page experience or website experience, or the relevancy of the ad tied to the landing page that you're using. Technically speaking, a couple things that might affect a low conversion rate or a high conversion rate are how fast your landing page is. If your landing page is very fast and very user-friendly and pages load in a super quick manner, less people will bounce off of your website, and therefore more people will convert into a lead or purchase or whatever it is you're trying to do, and therefore your conversion rate will be higher. So the page speed is super important. Another thing that could be related on your landing page to your conversion rate is how powerful is your ad copy and your ad headline. So usually if you have a more convincing ad headline and a more convincing ad copy, more people are going to be willing to take action, which will therefore increase your conversion rate as well. And as far as landing pages and websites go, a few other factors have an effect as well, which I would have to label in a totally separate video, because I could make an entire video on landing pages that convert and how to build an efficient landing page for your Google Ads campaign, but that's for another time. The bottom line is, the better the user experience is on a landing page, the higher the conversion rate will be. The other thing that affects the conversion rate is the relevancy of your landing page. So you always want your ads to be super relevant to your landing page, because if you show an ad displaying a certain headline and your landing page displays something completely different, well, what's going to happen is the people will end up on your landing page and they'll end up on something they didn't expect, and then they're going to leave and they'll bounce. And the more people that bounce from your landing page, the lower your conversion rate will become, and then therefore the higher your cost per conversion will become because of that. So in order to have a high conversion rate, keep track of it, number one, and number two, make sure it's high by having a nice user experience on your landing page and making sure it's super relevant to the ads that you're showing. So before we continue, if you like this video, video so far, be sure to give this video a like and a subscribe. That way you stay updated on all my future videos to come. Now, the next two metrics I'm going to talk about are going to be for e-commerce, or if you're selling a direct product online, which includes a purchase event. So chances are, if you're directly selling a product online, your conversions have something called a conversion value associated to it. So as an example here, I'm running ads in this account for these people who own hotels. And so the goal here is to fill up these hotels and generate hotel bookings for them. And when someone books a hotel room, a direct purchase event is done. And therefore, when a conversion happens, there's an associated dollar amount, which is the cost of that hotel booking. So you can see in this account that in the past month, from spending just a little over $1,000 in ads, we have generated 34 conversions in total. So that's 34 hotel bookings, which altogether have a conversion value of $7,500. So we essentially spent $1,000 in this ad account to generate a revenue of $7,500, which is the conversion value. So the second metric I'll mention here is something called ROAS, which stands for return on ad spend, where ROAS is often expressed as either a percentage value or as a multiplier value. It's the amount of revenue that you have generated on average for every $1 spent. As an example, if you spent $2,000 on ads and that generated you $5,000, that $5,000 figure, if I divide it by 2,000, it's 2.5 times bigger. So you're essentially getting a return on ad spend of 2.5x, or as expressed as a percentage, that would be 150%. Now keep in mind, this gets a little bit confusing because a 100% ROAS is equal to a 2x ROAS. So if you double your money, that's essentially the same thing as getting a 100% return. But the whole point is that ROAS essentially shows you how much money you are getting back for every dollar amount spent as a percentage or a multiplier X amount. And this can be really useful because it's essentially telling not only if your ads are profitable or not, but how profitable they are. And so the higher the ROAS figure you have, the more profitable your ads are. But you also have to be careful on the flip side, because let's say you have a ROAS of 0.5x. What that essentially means is that for every $1 spent on ads, you are getting a return of 50 cents. So you are therefore losing 50 cents for every $1 you spend, meaning that your ads are not profitable. When it comes to ROAS, and if you're doing e-commerce, you always want to hit that target of at least 1x to break even. Anything above that, your ads are profitable. Anything below that, your ads are not profitable, and you definitely need to have some optimizations and some fixing done on your ads. If I go back into this account, we can see that he spent $1,000, give or take, in the past month. That generated a conversion value of $7,500 with an actual ROAS right now of 690%. So that's essentially the return that he's getting on his ad spend. One last thing about ROAS and conversion value, keep in mind, usually this is for e-commerce or for direct selling or D2C. It can be applied to lead generation in other cases, but it's often more difficult to do this. And that's because when you're doing lead generation, it can be tough to assign a specific dollar amount for every lead that you get, because you don't necessarily close all of your leads into a dollar amount. Usually with lead generation, you are left with no conversion value. If you have a lot of data, you can maybe start assigning a conversion value to each lead, but for most cases, you'll have no conversion value. And this is usually a use case mostly for e-commerce or D2C. So now that we've gone through all these metrics, you might ask yourself, why do these metrics matter? And it's because these metrics can be used to do one of two things in your ad account. Number one being they can locate a problem within your ads and need to fix it. And number two, they can be used to increase the performance of your ads. So it's worthy of knowing that when your ads are underperforming, so in other words, your cost per conversion is too high, that usually happens for one of three reasons. Number one, your CPC is too high. Number two, your ad is not relevant to your targeting, and because of that, people are not clicking onto the ad and you therefore have a low CTR. Or number three, your landing page is not relevant to the ads and therefore your conversion rate is low. What I'm going to do now is give two different scenarios to kind of explain these concepts. So let's say for the first example that you have a very high CPC, a very low CTR, but a high conversion rate. So your conversion rate is good, but your click-through rate and your CPC are not good. So in a case like this, the problem is that your clicks cost too much in the first place, and therefore this directly translates into a cost per conversion that's too high, and also that people are not clicking on your ads often enough. So in order to fix a problem like this, what you'd want to do is decrease your cost per click and increase your click-through rate. And so usually a low CTR is the result of a few different things. So the first thing you want to check is you want to check the relevancy of your keywords, and are they relevant to the ad that you're showing? So you want to go through your keywords and really decide, like, are these keywords super relevant to to what I'm promoting and to the ad I'm showing. Because if your keywords are not relevant to the ad copy, then people are not going to click on the ad because what they typed does not match exactly to what they are seeing as an ad, and they're therefore less likely to click on the ad. The second thing you could do in a scenario like this is check the cost per click for every keyword. So maybe the case is that some of your keywords have a really high cost per click and you might not want to be running those because they're spending too much money on those individual keywords. To deduce this problem is you could go into the keywords in your account like here. The cost per click is not listed here, but I can add it as a column. And the way to do that is you click on your columns right here. You would search up CPC, click on average CPC and click apply, and that will see that your average CPC column should appear right here. So what I could do here in order to lower my cost per click is I can individually look at this column here and scroll through all of my keywords and see if I can find any keywords that have a cost per click that is a lot higher than the other ones and potentially pause those. If you have a low CTR as well, you might want to check your ad copy. So sometimes it doesn't just come down to the relevancy of the ad copy to the keywords. Sometimes the copy and the descriptions you wrote are just not convincing enough for someone to click on the ads. To do something like this, what you would do is you would go into your ads here and one by one examine your ads and just look through your headlines and descriptions and see if there's any improvements you can be making within your headlines right here and your descriptions right here. And so by doing a mix of these things, what can happen is you can lower your cost per click by canceling out keywords that are too high in terms of cost per click. And then also by upping the relevancy of your keywords and by providing more powerful headlines and descriptions, which also match those keywords at the same time, your CTR should go up. And as noted before, usually a higher CTR also results in a lower cost per click. So that's one way in which you can assess your metrics for a problem in your Google Ads account and how to locate the problem and potentially fix it. Another example we can go through is, let's say the opposite. Let's say you have a low cost per click, which is good. So your clicks are cheap. You have a very high CTR. So a lot of people are clicking on your ad, but you have a very low conversion rate. So a case like this, what's really going on is that your clicks are cheap, which is good. People are clicking on your ad. So your keywords and your targeting are relevant to your ad, but your conversion rate is low. So once people hit your website, they are not converting, which is the issue. And so the problem we want to fix is we want to increase this conversion rate. So an issue like this usually comes down to one of two things. Either it's a website or landing page issue, or it's a relevancy issue. So your landing page or website is not relevant to the ad you showed the person in the first place who clicked on it. So here are a couple of things I'll just list that can potentially fix an issue like this to up your conversion rate. Number one, you should check your site speed. If it's slow, make sure it's faster, because usually a faster website results in higher performance. Another thing that you have to check is that your landing page or website is fully functional and that all the buttons and links are correctly working, because you don't want to bring someone to a broken website. You also want to check that your domain URL is fully live and that it's working correctly, because if you bring someone to like a 404 error, for example, you're just driving traffic to a blank page and you're never going to get any conversions from that. So that's something that could be going on too. Other things you could do is just check the copy on your website and on your landing page. So that includes the headlines, the descriptions, how powerful your call to action is, how easy it is for someone to take action on your website. So let's say you're trying to get someone to fill out a form. Is the form hidden completely at the bottom of the website, or is it right there in plain sight and easy to fill out? These things matter and they affect your conversion rate in a very direct way. And all it comes down to is the user experience on your website good or is it not good? What you want to do is you want to make it as easy as possible for your user to take action. And you usually do that by providing a better user experience and also making that landing page relevant to the ad. Because if it's not relevant to the ad in the first place, people are just going to bounce straight from your website and they're not going to convert. By doing those things, your conversion rate should go up, which should directly result in your cost per conversion going down, therefore making your ads more profitable. Also, it's worth noting that for both of these examples that I just listed, you should be segmenting your data. For a lot of this video, we've been viewing these metrics on a dashboard like this. A lot of the time, if you have a low conversion rate, for example, that's not necessarily the account as a whole that has a low conversion rate. Sometimes the low conversion rate is caused because one part of the account has a low conversion rate. So what you want to do is you'd want to check through all of your campaigns, for example, or all your ad groups, all your ads, check that the ad copies are good for every single one. Go through your keywords as well and your audiences and check that your keywords are also converting well, because sometimes what you'll find is one keyword that is spending a ton of money that's not converting in the slightest, and that's just bringing the overall average down. And by locating a problem like that and removing it, you can quickly increase the average. So make sure that you segment your data when you're trying to find these problems and not just looking at the overall trend on your account dashboard. So hopefully this video overall has given you a good explanation on what these metrics mean and why they matter and how you can use them to effectively increase the performance of your ads. So if you're currently facing problems in your Google ad campaigns and you would like me to take a look and have me manage your ads for you, you can click the link in the description below to book a call with me. If you have any questions or feel as if I missed out an important metric which I did not talk about, be sure to drop that in the comments and I can answer your question there. And other than that, I'll see you on the next video.